It's difficult, I think, for people to understand, therefore, how you can have such a widespread movement now coming out of Turkey and working in many countries. They somehow think, well, there must be somebody directing this, somebody in charge. But if you look at the Hocaefendi, you realize this is not a man who's directing, who's running anything. This is a man who's inspiring people. Essential. It's interesting. A good bit of it, as I understand, for example, in Anatolia. My name is David Newton. I'm a retired diplomat, Foreign Service officer. I served as a diplomat for about 40 years, and more than 20 of that in the Arab world. I was ambassador to Iraq and to Syria, so very close to Turkey. I never had the pleasure of serving in Turkey, but I visited the country 7 times, and I really enjoy coming there. Istanbul especially is a wonderful place. I would say when we talk about the Hizmet movement, it's a particular interest to me because spending all the time in the Arab world where you have such a constant disturbance over political, economic, religious, and one always sees the need for a moderate, modern religion in the Arab world. Unfortunately, we have a lot of fundamentalists, some of them violent, and the only other voice you tend to hear in the Arab world is a purely traditional one, a modern one, yes, but traditional. It seems to me, particularly in the Arab world, there's a great need for a modern, progressive, pro-education view of Islam to get the Arab world out of its troubles. So that, to me, they need something very much like the Hizmet movement, and a person like Mr. Gülen, like Hocaefendi, who brings science, education, but above all, preaches tolerance. Because to me, tolerance is the mother of all virtues. It underlies, I think, all other virtues, and it underlies democracy. It's an absolute requirement for democracy. And I saw in the Arab world in more than 20 years this tremendous need for a tolerant, modern view of religion. And I think that is the great service of the Hocaefendi and also of the Hizmet movement itself. I know something of the background of Hocaefendi, his veneration for Jalaluddin Rumi, and of course Said Nursi. But here's a man who, from a religious, unchallenged religious basis of Islam, has created ideas inspiring people that you can live in the modern world, you can educate your children in science, in mathematics. They can do anything in the world and still be true to their religion. That, I think, is the great vision that he has given to people. And also by his personality. He's a powerful speaker. I'm sorry that I don't speak Turkish, but Hocaefendi is a powerful speaker, I can tell it. But he's also a very modest, quiet man who avoids political controversies, who doesn't take sides in disputes, and keeps very much to his message, the message of modernism, of tolerance, and a very attractive form of Islam. It's striking with the Hocaefendi that he is a very modest man, that he does not make himself the center of the movement. I believe he doesn't like to hear it called the Gülen Movement. He would much rather have it referred to as the service movement in English. He wants his ideas to be the center of the movement, but not himself. And of course, that's important because we're all mortal. And if the movement is to outlive him, it's important that the function not be on the person, but on his ideas. Some people, in a way, compare him to, in the United States, to Martin Luther King, who also tried to keep his ideas in the forefront, and who did not want himself to be seen just as the leader of a movement, but he wanted his ideas, which were very valuable and true ideas, to be followed. I think in that respect there's a similar idea. It's difficult, I think, for people to understand, therefore, how you can have such a widespread movement now coming out of Turkey and working in many countries. They somehow think, well, there must be somebody directing this, somebody in charge. But if you look at the Hocaefendi, you realize this is not a man who's directing, who's running anything. This is a man who's inspiring people. I mean, the movement is, of course, has political importance because of its size, but it is not a political movement. It's a movement based on values. When I think about the Hizmet movement, it's interesting. I mean, a good bit of it, as I understand, for example, in Anatolia, these are local businessmen. Some are very prominent, but others are just the local, like the local Chamber of Commerce or the local businessman's club. They operate much the same way, and we know that in the United States. And when these people get together as a businessman's club, they very frequently engage in charitable activities, feeling that they have a responsibility. So this is not something totally new, this aspect of the Hizmet movement. But the difference is that in Turkey, people are being called upon to practice their religion, to do this as not just out of charitable, pure charity, but out of their religious obligations. And the other, of course, difference is the extent to which this is happening in Turkey and spreading outside, that people are not just giving, some money or something, they're actually devoting their lives. They're coming and working in dangerous places. They're spending all their time and making really efforts that are transformative, that really make a difference in people's lives, in education especially. I did this one trip to Turkey and saw some of these organizations, of course the famous school in Izmir, but also the clinics, the hospitals, the universities. These are people who are not just giving spare money, they're giving themselves almost everything they have and really devoting their lives out of religious principles, but principles based on tolerance and love. That's often religion can be used for bad purposes. Here are people using their religion for very noble purposes. Speaking of the Hizmet movement and Hocaefendi's emphasis on education, I think it's absolutely essential if you're preparing the next generations for the modern world. I think it's exactly necessary. And although these schools, the ones I visited, I mean, these are being funded, founded, and actually run by people who are devout Muslims. But often, if you see in other countries, you see schools which are purely religious, they're very closed in. They're only focused on their own people, their own belief. The difference in these schools is the tolerance and the high standard, the high ethical standard that they emphasize for the students. It's really a remarkable combination. And of course, also that this educational movement is not focused on the elite. It's focused on very ordinary and often on people who are disadvantaged and having everything I've read or seen, having very superior results with with the students that they bring. I would, my own personal feeling from having been so long in the Arab world is it's difficult for a movement which is not in Arabic to spread in the Arab world, but I really hope that the service movement or the Gülen movement, however you want to call it, I know it's already begun to have some schools there. I hope it'll inspire many Arabs to take up this kind of tolerant, modern, educationally focused and charitable effort, because it's something that's, I think, desperately needed in the Arab world. People in the Arab world are still struggling to define the role that Islam should play in their lives. And many of these people are being given a very distorted, intolerant view of Islam, which is not only dangerous for the world, but terrible for them in the long run. It's interesting that Hizmet is, of course, specifically a Muslim and Islamic movement, and there's a historical prejudice in the West towards Islam. I mean, Christianity and Islam fought for centuries, for more than a millennium, and Islam was, for the Prophet, peace be upon him, was portrayed as the Antichrist in the Middle Ages and so forth. And now there were scholars, of course, who made people aware of the real Islam, but nevertheless, ever since 9/11 and so forth, there's been a good bit of anti-Western prejudice, and also immigration itself also tends to bring prejudice. So people emigrating from the Muslim world have caused some prejudice against them. So here you have a completely different face of Islam, a tolerant, modern one. And the challenge really is to get people to understand that their prejudices are not directed towards the true religion itself. Every religion can easily be misused and has been misused historically, whatever the religion. But I think it's very important in the West for us to come to an understanding of Islam, which has many common beliefs with Christianity and with the Judaism, and is at its core a noble religion for people to understand religions. I mean, you can take extreme examples of stoning and things like that. If you read the Old Testament, you'll find things just as bad or worse, but we don't really pay attention to such things. What we need to do is focus on the core, the fundamental principles of the religion.
I think that the Hizmet movement represents some of the very best instincts of Islam. Again, this sense of the common good, this sense that when we are believers, we are doers, that our faith is in action.
The thing that distinguishes the Hizmet movement is that people are donating money, but they're going themselves also and doing it and devoting their lives to doing it.